Hey, want to listen to some tunes?
Yo, welcome back to Persona 5 Merciless with your favourite host Sankey. Thanks for all the support on the previous video, by the way, it really does mean a lot. And without further ado, let's get straight into this new video, shall we? Our first action in the video is to tell Takemi that the kid she thought she killed is actually alive. This means we level up confidence at level 8. Later that day, I tried to hang out with Hifumi, but it turns out I don't have enough. So instead I decided to stay at home and watch Mouse MP. Next on our to-do list was to level up Maruki's confidant to level 7. This is important as maxing out his confidant allows us to access the final term. The next day I hang out with Maruki again and level up his confidant to level 8. I then realised I haven't spent much time with Yusuke, and I kinda need to level him up to get his party boasties, so I level him up to level 6. So the next thing to happen in our playthrough is Kasumi's awakening, and even though it happens now, it doesn't really come into play until the final semester. So what happens is we find her ribbon, try to return it, and we accidentally get teleported into a palace. And who knows what palace it is, that's the mystery. Woo! Kasumi also decides that she doesn't want to join the Phantom Thieves. I then spend some time with Ryuji and An at the gym and level up An's confidant to level 8. I then spend even more time with Maruki and level him up to level 9, and I think this is the maximum I can go to, for now. I then level up Shinya's confidant to level 2, and a lot of his abilities later on in the confidant are incredibly useful. I then get Shinya to level 3 to use a new ability. I then spend some time with Shiho and An, and we then get the option to date An, and because I am a loyal man, I decide not to, but either way, we level up An's confidant to level 9. I then spend even more time with Shinya, and level up his confidant to level 4, but what I have also forgot to mention is that spending time with Shinya increases your kindness, which is very useful. Back to the main story now, and we celebrate Okumura's change of heart by deciding to go to this game's version of Disney World, which reminds me of the Demon Mickey and Donald from Shin Megami Tensei 1. During our time at Totally Not Disney World, Okumura comes on the TV and decides to open up about his wrongdoings, but it doesn't really go to plan and he starts leaking black liquid from his eyes? It's not good. So it turns out we may have accidentally killed Okumura, or so we think. And as a reward for killing Okumura, we level up the full confidant to level 9. During another flashback, I then level up Sai's confidant to level 5, and we find out the next target for this video, which is Sai Najima herself. I know you're probably sick of hearing this, but I level up Shinya's confidant to level 5. The next day, I go to An's photo shoot, and after the photo shoot we go out to lunch, where we level up An's confidant to level 10. This unlocks An a new persona, and also allows us to fuse another persona, and I can't really remember who it is, but I know it's good. Later that day I spend some time with Sojiro, and level up his confidant to level 5. The next day at school is everyone's least favourite day, it's exam day, and like every knowledgeable Persona player, I use the internet to get this done. The next day at school we find out that there are detectives coming into the school to interrogate the students, and obviously we get interrogated and we're totally not suspicious. I think they'll never know anything. I can't lie, at this point I'd completely forgotten about the main story, and that's because I was so invested in the side characters that I forgot what was really going on. So at this point in time we're inviting Akechi to the winter event at our school to see if he has any information of value. I then spend some more time with Sojiro and level up his confidant to level 6. On the day before the festival, Akechi turns up at the blank. Honey, I'm home! And he accepts an invite to the festival. On our first day of the winter festival, we meet Akechi, and he decides to eat the spicy takoyaki. And the second day of the festival, Akechi reveals that he has some pretty damning evidence on who the Phantom Thieves are, and it turns out he has some photos of when we were in Okumura's palace, so we have no choice but to go along with it. I then attend the post-festival party and see an anime-style cutscene. I then spend the rest of the post-festival party at Kawakami. After the fair at the school, Futaba and I come home to find out that Sojiro has found the postcard that we gave to Futaba to get him to her palace. Now this is bad news, but after a bit of calming down, Sojiro comes around and allows us to still be Phantom Thieves. The next day I give the down on our luck Phantom Thieves a little pep talk, and then I brew some coffee. The next day we meet with Akechi in Cafe LeBlanc, and Akechi wants us to help him steal Sai's heart. This leads to a flash forward and some more yapping and levelling up Sai's confidant to level 6. And just before we try to locate Sai's palace, Futaba, Morgana and myself come up with a plan to fool Akechi. Just before we enter Sai's palace, Futaba steals Akechi's phone, just because she thinks it's a new model and thinks it's cool and it's totally not foreshadowing or anything. But anyway, this kicks off the palace with the best theme, Sai's palace. Everything about this theme is so good. The acid jazz, the guitars, the vocals. Don't even get me started, it is one of the best songs in the game, and in my opinion, the best palace theme, no debate. While sneaking around the casino, we encounter Sai quite quickly, and she informs us that we have to get a pass to get to the next floor. So that's our next challenge, and also I equip quite a cool cosmetic. We then witness Akechi's persona summoning, but not awakening, summoning, more foreshadowing. Also, this fight is a joke, don't worry about it. We then decide to leave the metaverse for some reason. I don't know why I keep doing this every time we go in, but I want to stay. Let me stay. Back in the metaverse now, I want to take my first ever video.
No one today. Like me.
What?
I'm feeling so outraged.
I just got insta-killed. On the brighter side, we unlock Haru and Makoto's showtime. To get the keycard to go to the next level, we have to defeat a mini-boss in the security room, and this fight, like most of the others, is quite easy, but just don't mention that one I died at, just a random encounter. After obtaining the keycard, we then take the keycard to the elevator to go to the members floor, and again we encounter Sai, but nothing really ever comes of this. After getting to the next floor, I decide to head to the Velvet Room as there is a fusion alarm occurring, and during this alarm I decide to fuse a Fortuna with pretty decent stats. So we make it to the next floor, but to get to the next floor, I know it's complicated, but to get to the next floor and the next floor, we have to get a certain amount of money, but to get that money we have to gamble. And of course it's rigged, because it's a fucking casino, right? So we are going to do some negotiating to try and get some money. To stop the gambling machines from being rigged, we have to fight a mini-boss. And this mini-boss is a complete joke. As soon as I learned she was weak to wind and bless, which Akechi and I specialise in, this fight was basically over. After the fight, we rig the game so that every time we play we win, but after winning a few times we realise that there's a limit to how much we can win, so we decide to do the next best thing and go to the slot machines. I managed to pick up the second Will Seed. When we get to the big jackpot slot machine, we realise that one spin is 5,000 chips, and because we don't have a lot of money, we decide to rig the game by pressing some panels across the map. After finding the two panels and disabling them, we head back to the slot machine and attempt to win the jackpot, and as luck would have it, we win the jackpot, which means we can advance to the next floor. Just before we can advance to the next floor, there's a short mini-boss, and this fight is so easy. Yusuke freezes him and I get him with a death bound. After the mini-boss fight, we get to the next floor and realise that to get to the next floor, well, you know what I mean, to actually get to the next floor, we have to go in real life and do one of those things again where Najima sees us and knows that we are in her palace. So, we have to go back to the real world, unfortunately. After getting home that night, I decided to watch a movie, which ends up levelling up my guts to level 4. The next day after school, we decide to watch Najima at a court hearing, She sees us in the crowd and now knows that we are in her palace, so we can go back later that day. Going to the palace later that day, we find out that the road that was blocked is now open. Next, we find out to get to the final boss arena that we need 100,000 chips, and there are two ways we can earn this. We can go through the battle arena, or through the maze, and first the game forces us to go through the maze, so we'll do the maze. Now the maze itself isn't very difficult. Apart from being dark, there's not much real challenge to it, and if you just use your third eye, you can get through this dungeon very easily. But as soon as I'm in, I'm basically out again, which makes this dungeon really easy and we can move on to the battle arena. With the 10,000 chips earned from the maze, we decide to enter the battle arena, but plot twist, only one of us can go in, and of course I'm nominated because I'm obviously the best, so without further ado, let's commence the battle arena. The first wave is really easy as these elephants are weak to psychic, which my Shikioji specialises in. The second wave is even easier as my White Rider has Zionga, which kills all 3 enemies at once. Our final opponent is Thor. Now this is a bit more difficult, but I get in with a burn, and obviously burns can be destroyed. Well, not destroyed, but you can take advantage of that, which I did with Fortuna and got him in one turn. After winning in the battle arena, we win 100,000 chips on our better 10,000 chips, which means we now have enough money to cross the bridge. Because all casinos are rigged, the prize is up to 1,000,000 chips, but luckily Akechi took out a loan and bet it all on us before the battle arena, which means we still have enough to cross the bridge. After crossing the bridge, we then secure a route to the treasure. After going to school the next day, I gather everyone in the Phantom Thieves HQ ready to send the calling card, but Akechi objects and says we should wait till the last day possible to send the card, which is not how I like to do things, but because it's part of the story we have to do it this way. I then spend some time with Shinya and level up his confidant to level 6. I then spend the afternoon repairing the broken laptop I bought a while ago, which allows us to unlock Tanaka's amazing commodities. The next day after school I begin Haru's confidant. Later that night I take Akechi out on a date to the bar and level up his confidant to level 7. The next day I hang out with Shinya again at the arcade, but his mum isn't very happy with me hanging around him, which is understandable, but either way we get a mementos request and level up Shinya to level 7. The next day I hang out with Shinya again and give him a calling card to give to his mum, which means we can now access the mementos request and level up Shinya to level 8. So here comes my biggest mistake of the playthrough so far. I forget that to rank Akechi up to rank 8 you have to go through a fight with him as he is your rival, and I completely forgot this and went straight in and started panicking, so I'll try and sum it up as best as I can. So I'm either incredibly stupid or incredibly lucky that I still have Shikioji in my party, as Akechi's attacks are physical, bless, and curse, which Shikioji nulls, which means the only attack I have to worry about is Megidola, and when he does use Megidola, I just heal. So this fight is stressful. I just keep chipping away at Akechi and eventually he goes down. This means that after a stressful fight, we level up Akechi's confidant to level 8. On the train the next day, I finally level up my kindness to level 4. The next day I decided to head into Mementos since I've had a backlog of requests for about a while now, and I thought, you know what, got free time, get them done. Our first request was against this guy, and I can't remember who he is, I can't lie, but he takes on the form of Baphomet, which is fine, because he's weak to ice, which Yusuke is fine with, but he does inflict fear on the party, and he ends up killing Makoto later in the fight, which is not ideal, but we have to thug it out, and eventually he goes down. Next up is the video game cheater who we couldn't beat last time, and this is dead easy. You use the downing shot and then you all out attack and he's gone. Next up was the guy blocking the way to the next floor of Mementos, and this wasn't difficult, just sort of chipped away at him for a while and he went down, no worries. Next up was Shadow Oda, also known as Shinya's mother. And this gave me some trouble as I struggled throughout the fight. She kept putting a lot of my party to sleep, and near the end she goes with Vorpal Blade, which is a heavy physical attack, and it takes out all my party apart from myself, but luckily one final Agidine and she goes down. The next day after Mementos I spend some time with Futaba and level a confidant up to level 2. I then reluctantly spend some time with Mishima, who I really don't want to hang out with, but I max out his confidant, and this allows us to fuse the persona Sandolphin. With the Mementos request for Shinya completed, I then spend some time with him the next day and get his confidant up to level 9. The next day at school, I answer a question correctly in class, and this unexpectedly levels up my knowledge to max rank, which is pretty cool, which means I can hang out with Hifumi now. I now remember who that first request was in Mementos, and it was Chihiya's boss, and it looks like he turned himself in, which means she's not in trouble anymore, and it also means that we can level up a confidant to level 8. The next day I decide to spend some time with Futaba, and we go down to the supermarket, and Futaba gets lost in the supermarket, which means we have to go find her, and then we level up a confidant to level 3. I don't know. Later I go to talk to Hifumi, who just gives me a Mementos request, which is rude since I've just been there, but you know, it is what it is. The next day I go to finish Shinya's confidant, and Shinya figures out that we're part of the Phantom Thieves, but who doesn't at this point? It's part of the lore basically. But either way, max out the confidant and we confuse Marder, which is good. Don't ask why I was at the maid cafe, you don't need to know. But anyway, spending time at the maid cafe helped me level up my charm, which means I can talk to Makoto now. The next day I go to hang out with Makoto, and she meets her friend and her new boyfriend. And we pretend to be Makoto's boyfriend, and he tries to flirt with Makoto. Anyway, rank 6 confidant. After being rejected by Hifumi, I decide the next best course of action is to go into Mementos and do her request. Now this fight isn't very difficult, it's just a big chip away job. You just keep chipping away at Lilim until she goes down, and luckily I hit a shock, and Makoto finishes, and then we use a finisher to finish, so not difficult. Finishing Mementos now, I decide to head to Chihiya later that day so I can get my money back from her OnlyFans that I invested in, and then I level up a confidant to level 9, so we're almost at max for her. And I also choose not to romance Chihiya as I am a loyal man. Even more rank 9 shenanigans the next day as I rank up Takemi to rank 9, and also get the option to romance Takemi. Now, I am a loyal man, but Takemi was my first choice in my first playthrough, so I got respect for that. Later that day, I go back to the church to speak to Hifumi, and we find out that her mother has had a change of heart, and we rank up a confidant to rank 8 as a result of this. The next day, I go out to visit Chihiya and max a confidant, and this allows us to fuse the ultimate persona, Lakshmi. I then decide to do something which I've been putting off for a while, and that is maxing out Caroline and Justine's confidant. Now this allows you to buy personas that are higher than your level, which is really useful. So I get the confidant from level 6 to level 10 in the day, just by fusing personas. I then spend the rest of my time in Mementos, just getting down to the depths, ready for the next palace. And I do some leveling as well, just to get myself ready for the Psy boss fight. The next day I spend time in Makoto and level up her confidant to level 7. The next day I am forced to have lunch with Maruki, just for some flashbacks. And by doing this we level up his confidant to level 10, which means we should get the final semester, so fingers crossed. After speaking with Maruki, I assemble the Phantom Thieves at LeBlanc just to talk about tomorrow, and we send the calling card off to Sai, and this begins the final boss fight. Let's get it on.
Yo.
While editing the script for this video, I realised that I completely forgot the third will seed, and I'm not going back over again just to do it. I'm just gonna have to leave it. I know it's a big disappointment, I'm as disappointed as you. You don't give two shits, but here we are. Here is Shadow Sai in all of her glory, Anyway, sidetracked. The boss fight, the first gimmick is it's a roulette wheel, and of course you get rigged the first time. It's a casino, hey, it's life, you know. So what you have to do is figure out what the issue with the roulette wheel is, and there's a glass panel, so you have to send someone off to shoot the glass panel. Me being a dumbass completely forgot, started slapping Sai and got slapped back harder. For Sai's second form, she transforms into this robot war Mad Max looking thing that is pretty cool actually. And the gimmick here revolves around the roulette wheel again. She keeps spinning it, and whenever she lands on is what type she uses against you. Now, you just have to keep slapping her a bit, and then you'll get down to the third phase. Not too difficult. On the note of it not being too difficult, after countless buffs, debuffs, and all that stuff, I managed to lose this first attempt, and I was kind of annoyed at this point, so I gave up for a little while. That's why this video took so long. I took a break.
Damn it.
Attempt number 2 now, and this was performed while I was slightly, shall we say, inebriated. So a lot of the choices made in this attempt were quite dumb. Somehow, in my drunken haze, I managed to get past the roulette wheel quite quickly, and with a different party than my last time, everything looked to be on the up and up. But, unfortunately, as there is an attempt 3 in my folders I am looking right now, I eventually died, and I just did not have enough resilience to get side down. Attempt 3 ultimately ended with a Megidolan.
They reinforced what the fuck? No, oh for fuck's sake.
Attempt number 3 was recorded live on stream with my friend Leon, and we thought, you know what, why don't we just try it? You know, we've got every other clip up until now, this is the last clip we need for this episode, so I thought, why not, let's do it. I managed to get past the roulette wheel quite quickly and in good time, but my plan for this playthrough was to go with Ryuji, Arn, Morgana, keep buffing, keep debuffing, Futaba occasionally helping, pardon me, sorry, and eventually just try and use physical dampening skills like Shikioji. About halfway through the fight I realised that Ryuji just wasn't cutting it, so I swapped in for Makoto, as Makoto has Medea armor which can heal everyone in the party, and Ryuji just stands there and goes, "For real?" On the final phase of the fight I had the genius idea to use repel, physical and gun skills, as I realised that Sai was only going for physical and gun, and then occasionally going for Megidola, which I could avoid if my agility was high enough. So I got a spotlight, put it on myself, and I'll just show you the result.
Yeah, oh my god! It worked!
After that amazing reflect from Gira Makala and a few more slaps from everyone else, Shadow Sai finally goes down.
Yes, let's go! Oh my god.
After the boss fight, Sai does the normal boss thing of apologising and saying they've done wrong, and at this point we realise that the palace is overrun with cops, so I decide to go alone and take the briefcase, well, the treasure, outside of the palace. And now we find ourselves in an all too familiar predicament, which looks strangely similar to the start of the game. And at this point there's a mini-boss, but he just goes down with a Mudo. I was really surprised this hit, so I don't often use Mudo skills, but I was aroused. As I am nearly out of the palace, I get surrounded by demons, but luckily I am rescued, not really rescued, assisted by Kasumi. And it's a surprise seeing her here, but she will be back, mark my words. I've decided to end the video here, as at this point the story advances a lot, and I feel like there's not much else I can do with this palace, so I will just say thank you very much for watching, please subscribe, like, all that stuff, and I shall see you hopefully in less than a year's time this time, but you know, you never know, it's me. See you around.